Hello everybody, welcome to our first vlog of 2018. Happy New Year to everybody. If like us you've had an awful lot of rain, we're all pretty fed up of it. Everywhere's pretty muddy. We're today down in the sheep shed at Daylesford. There's 1,400 animals in here. The bulk of our sheep are Flyns. So our commercial flock is a purebred Flyn. The very sheepified people amongst you will notice that they might see one or two with a touch of Texel in, but the base flock is Flyn. We now have 200 pedigree performance ewes which are producing all of the paternal lines, and of course we're breeding all of our maternal lines as well. I think we've talked about that before, about the importance of selecting the right ewe lambs to come back into the flock. What I wanted to talk to you today about was the importance of forage and the use of forage. Now, I do an awful lot of tours here at Daylesford for different farming groups, and one of the questions that often gets asked when I talk about arable rotation and fertility building with leguminous crops to fix atmospheric nitrogen is that some people think that that fertility building crop is only really useful for fertility building, but actually it's not. We would ensile all of our crops that are in fertility building, so Sainfoin and red clover are the two main crops that we grow. We'll take 2 cuts of silage and we look to grow the highest quality forage that we can, because the better the protein we can produce on farm and provide for our livestock, of course the less investment I'm having to make in bought-in protein. So our sheep are actually brought in just after Christmas. First thing we do is shear them. Another question a lot of people will ask me about shearing sheep and housing them. Well, I've found over the years that it's the kindest thing to do. So you're bringing them into the house from outside, we shear them. It's obviously pretty well sheltered in here and the sheep are very, very comfortable. General rule of thumb is that you have 8 weeks of wool growth before those sheep are turned out. So we shear early January, we lamb from right at the end of March, early April, and then the sheep are turned out. So they've got plenty of wool cover when we actually turn them out. Now our forage would be this Sainfoin red clover based diet, and it would have a dry matter content of about 30%. What we do is we feed our sheep with a feeder wagon, and so we'll load it up with silage obviously from our silage pit, and then we'll add a bit of hay as well, and that just makes it a drier mix. And you'll find that by doing that you keep your sheep a lot cleaner in the pens. Straw is at a real premium and I don't want to be buying it in the winter. So to try and keep them as dry as we can with the feed mixture that we're giving them is a real help to that straw saving. If you feed a wet silage, they'll tend to poop out a wet and pull that silage into the pen and create a bit of muck. So the drier the matter, the better it is for keeping them clean in the shed. Now, Sainfoin I've talked about a lot in the past. I don't need to keep on about that. You know I think it's a great feed and the sheep find it very palatable and enjoy it thoroughly. But red clover also makes a great feed as well. We'll normally grow red clover with a little bit of ryegrass, and again we ensile that twice in a season and into the pit it comes. Another very commonly asked question is how much feed do I need to feed a sheep? Well, if you take a 30% dry matter, so that's 30% per kilo is actual dry matter. I usually work it out on a sheep requiring 2 to 2.5 kilos of dry matter per day. So in actual fact she's needing to eat sort of 3 kilos to get 900 grams of dry matter, so 6 or 7 or 8 kilos per head would feed them for the day, and that's how I work it out. So your dry matter content is very important, that you understand what that is and you know that you're feeding your sheep the right amount. Other than that, it's just really noticing how much they'll clean up. So basically as they get further into pregnancy they'll eat less dry matter, so we just feed really so that they're clearing it up every day, and that's a nice fresh feed that goes down in front of them. We've just scanned our ewes last week, very good scanning, 196%. We've got about an even number of triplets to singles and the rest are multiple births. What I love about the Flyn is they are naturally very prolific. We had a tremendous autumn, if you remember, a very growy autumn last year. And what you need to understand is that lambs are made at tupping time, they're not made at lambing time. And you need your sheep to be on a rising plane of nutrition. So what actually happens is the tup will mate with the ewe, she'll conceive multiple lambs inside her. If she goes on a backward plane of nutrition, she'll probably reabsorb 1 or 2 of those lambs. So she actually conceives successfully, but will reabsorb them again because she doesn't have the nutrient within her body. So a lot of people like to flush their sheep. I don't worry too much about that. Rams go out early November, and as long as you've got a bit of tucker to keep them on and keep them going forward, for those first few weeks afterwards, they'll usually hang on to their lambs. We're lambing 300 gimmers, or first time lambers, this spring, and they actually scanned out at 180%, so that's really pleasing as well. But the importance of forage I can't overestimate, so the quality of that forage that you create in the summer is really important. And if it's a damper forage, if you've had a bad season and you can't get it down to the dry matter that you want, then incorporate a little bit of hay or straw into their feed just to keep that dry matter up. Helps them keep clean in the yards, and will allow the animal to enjoy a palatable forage as well.